الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. صدق الله مولانا العظيم. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أحب الله لما يغدو عليكم من نعمه وأحبوني بحب الله وأحب أهل بيتي بحبي أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. أما بعد، Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Respected elders and brothers in Islam, loving the Ahlul Bayt, the noble family of the Messenger sallallahu, alaihi, wasallam, is a deeni obligation. It is an integral part of our Iman. The great jurist, the great scholar, Muhammad ibn Idrees Shafi rahimahullah, said in poetry, Ya ala bayta Rasulillah hubbukum fardhum min Allahi fil Qur'an anzala yakfikum min azim al-fakhri annakum man lam yusalli alaykum la salata lah. O family of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, your love is an obligation which Allah has revealed in the Quraan Majeed. It is sufficient as a source of great pride for you that a person who fails to send salutations on you is deficient in his salah, meaning he is deficient in his iman. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam had commanded us and he said, Ahibbullaha lima yaghdukum min ni'amihi. You ought to love Allah because of the bounties of Allah upon you. Wa ahibbuni bihubbillah. And you should love me because of your love of Allah. وَأَحِبُّ أَهْلَ بَيْتِي بِحُبِّي. And love my family, my Ahlul Bayt, because of your love for me. There are those from this who claim to be Muslims, who claim to be unequal in their love for the Ahlul Bayt. They even name themselves the Ahlul Bayt Foundation of South Africa, or the Ahlul Bayt Foundation of the world. But when we look at them and the reality, 1 month of the year, a few days of the year, they make a spectacle of themselves, claiming to love the family of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yet they are not the true lovers, because they love certain portions of the family of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They focus on certain events and omit other events. If a person holds on to 1 or 2 chapters of the Noble Quran and he loves that and he only holds on to that and he neglects and abandons the rest, can he be a lover of the Quran? Similarly, the Shias claim that they are the lovers of the family of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and yet they do not love the entire family of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They go to extreme in showing love on one hand, yet they omit others. They show hatred to others. They love those, they dislike and even show hatred to those who Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had loved. So the question is, who is the Ahlul Bayt? When we talk of the Ahlul Bayt and the special position that they have, then who are they? So there are various narrations that guide us in this regard. There is a particular narration of Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha. And she says, on one occasion, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, kharaja Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam ghadatun. One morning he came out. Wa alaihi mirtun murahhalun min sha'rin aswad. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam came out wearing a striped cloak made of black camel's hair. And then, فَأَدْخَلَهُ فَجَاءَ الْحَسَنُ بْنُ الْعَلِي. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was sitting, and Sayyidina Hassan radiyallahu anhu, the eldest grandson of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, came. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam then included him under the cloak and kept him under the cloak. Then Sayyidina Hussein came and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam also put him under the cloak. Then Sayyidah Fatima radiallahu anha came. Then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam فَأَدْخَلَهَا. entered her under the cloak. And then Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu came and he brought him also under the cloak. And then Nabi Sallallahu recited a verse from the Noble Quran indicating that these are the members of the Ahlul Bayt. So this group forms part of the Ahlul Bayt, but they are not the only members of the Ahlul Bayt of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's also another narration. In fact, the Noble Quran, when speaking about the mothers of the believers, the Ummahatul Mu'mineen, Allah Rabbul Izzah refers to them. إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. Allah Rabbul Izzah intends to remove all impurities from those who are considered to be the Ahlul Bayt and to purify them. So this is the second group of the Ahlul Bayt, which are the Ummahatul Mu'mineen, all the mothers of the believers. The Shias say they love the Ahlul Bayt, yet they hate Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha. They say they love the Ahlul Bayt, yet they cast aspersions on Sayyidah Hafsa radiallahu anha. All the wives, all the Ummahatul Mu'mineen form part of the Ahlul Bayt. Then furthermore, the Ahlul Bayt is now not only restricted to these individuals. Yahya ibn Hayyan rahimahullah narrates from Sayyidina Zayd radiallahu anhu. He says he visited him at a time when Sayyidina Zayd was at an advanced age, and he asked him to narrate some ahadith to him. And at that time, Sayyidina Zayd said that لَقَدْ كَبِرَتْ سِنِّي, that I'm now old and I've now reached an advanced age, so don't burden me beyond what I can bear. And then he said to him, I'm going to narrate to you a hadith, and listen to the hadith and hold fast onto this hadith. Sayyidina Zayd radiallahu anhu then narrated the hadith, and he said that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam qama Rasulullah yawman fina khatiban. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam addressed us one day at a well, Yud'a Khumman. It is a well which had the name of Khum. And then Nabi, it was between Mecca and Madinatul Munawwara. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam began his address by praising Allah and by sending salutations. And then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Amma ba'd. Ya ayyuhan nas. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam addressed them and saying, O people, innama ana basharun. I'm but a human. Yushiku an ya'tiya rasulu rabbi. That soon a messenger from the Rabb will come to me, informing me my time is up and I've got to leave. And when I leave, وَأَنَا تَارِكٌ فِيكُمْ ثَقَلَيْنِ, and I leave with you two weighty things. أَوَّلُهُمَا كِتَابُ اللَّهِ. The first is the book of Allah. فِي الْهُدَى وَالنُّورِ. In it is guidance, in it is illumination. فَخُذُوا بِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ. Hold on to the book of Allah. وَاسْتَمْسَكُوا بِهِ. And do not let go of it under any circumstances whatsoever. And then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and the second thing that I'm leaving with you is wa ahlu bayti, and my ahlul bayt, my family. And then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, udhakkirukum Allah fi ahli bayti, udhakkirukum Allah fi ahli bayti, udhakkirukum Allah fi ahli bayti. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said 3 times that I remind you of Allah with regards to fulfilling the rights of my Ahlul Bayt. I remind you of Allah with regards to fulfilling the rights of my Ahlul Bayt. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said it one more time. And then the person who was present when Sayyidina Zayd radiallahu anhu narrated this narration, he then asked that وَمَنْ أَهْلُ بَيْتِ, who are the Ahlul Bayt that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is referring to? And then he said, أَلَيْسَ نِسَاءُ مِنْ أَهْلِ بَيْتِ, that are the wives of Nabi Sallallahu not part of the Ahlul Bayt? And he said, yes, the wives are part of the Ahlul Bayt, but وَلَكِنْ أَهْلِ بَيْتِ مَنْ حُرِمَ الصَّدَقَةُ بَعْدَهُ. The Ahlul Bayt are those members, those individuals upon whom it is not permissible for them to accept a zakat. And then he explained and he said, هُمْ آلُ عَلِيٍّ وآل أقيل وآل جعفر وآل عباس كل هؤلاء حرم صدقته. It is the family, the progeny of Sayyidina Ali, the progeny of Sayyidina Aqil radiallahu anhu, the progeny of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, the progeny of Ja'far radiallahu anhum, and the entire Banu Hashim. All of them, they are not allowed to accept zakat. These are the people who form the Ahlul Bayt. So as we said, three categories: those whom Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had entered under the cloak, those who the Quran refers to as Ahlul Bayt, the Ummahatul Mu'mineen, and as this narration indicate, the family of Ali, Aqil, Ja'far ibn Abbas, and the Banu Hashim. These are those individuals that form the Ahlul Bayt of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, when the love of the Ahlul Bayt is such an integral part of our deen, we can well imagine how the Sahaba radiallahu anhum had love for the Ahlul Bayt. They were foremost in every aspect of deen, and they were foremost in displaying their love for the Ahlul Bayt. When we look at specific incidences and references in the lives of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, then the Shias create a narrative as though Sayyidina Abu Bakr and Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu had snatched away the Khilafah of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu. They had unjustly taken it away from him. And the fact that there was animosity and there was hatred and there was this rivalry between the two of them, between these factions for the Khilafah. When we look at the reality, then it's far from this. When we look at the nature of the relationship between Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and Sayyidina Ali, we'll find love, we'll find mutual compassion, we'll find that they even joked with one another. Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu once said, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِي لَقَرَابَةُ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أَحَبُّ إِلَيَّ أَنْ أَصِلَ مِنْ قَرَابَتِي. That I take an oath, Sayyidina Abu Bakr is saying, I take an oath on that being in whose hands my life is, for me to join the relations with the family members of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is more beloved to me than joining my own family relations. Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu said, irqabu Muhammadan fi ahli bayti. Be mindful, take special regard with regards to the family of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And one day, the narrator says that I seen Sayyidina Abu Bakr. He had just come out of the masjid, and he seen the grandson of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, was still a young boy, Sayyidina Hassan radiallahu anhu. So what he did, he picked him up and he put him on his shoulders, and he started carrying him that way. And then he passed the father, Sayyidina Ali, and when he seen him, he said, Bi abi shabihatun bin Nabi, laysa shabihatun bi Ali. Can I tell you what? That he looks like his grandfather, he doesn't look like his father Ali. And when Sayyidina Abu Bakr said this to Sayyidina Ali started to laugh, because for him it was a compliment that his own son resembled Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So this was the humorous interaction between the two of them. It gives us indication as to the nature of the relationship between them. When after the demise of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Sayyidina Abu Bakr was going out to Dhul Qusah, and this was where the renegades had gathered, and they were now, there was a group that turned away from the deen of Islam, and there were those who made certain proclamations that they won't give the zakat. Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu mounted his conveyance and was leading the army himself to go fight the enemy. And he was leaving now. When Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu came out, أخذ علي رضي الله عنه بزمامها. Sayyidina Ali grabbed hold of the reins of the conveyance and he asked him, إلى أين يا خليفة رسول الله? Where are you going, O Khalifa, O the deputy of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? أقول لك ما قال رسول الله يوم أحد. I say to you at this point what Sayyidina Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had said to you in Uhud. That Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu in Uhud, that شَمِّن سَيْفَكْ وَلَا تَفْجَعْنَا بِنَفْسِكْ. That Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, oh Abu Bakr, don't put yourself in the front, because we will never be able to bear your loss. Don't let us grieve over your loss. So I'm saying to you at this time, Sayyidina Ali says to Sayyidina Abu Bakr, that I am telling you at this time that also you cannot go out. If you have to be martyred on the battlefield, then لا يكون للإسلام نظاما. then there will be disarray amongst the mu'mineen. There will be complete chaos in the ranks of the believers. If Sayyidina Abu Bakr was the enemy of Sayyidina Ali, he would say, go, 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 secretly in his heart thinking that if he gets martyred, then I can take over. But that wasn't the case. What did he say? No, you stay behind. We'll never be able to bear the loss of you being martyred on the battlefield, because there will be no system after that in the deen of Islam. So this was the mutual friendly relationship of compassion and love between Sayyidina Abu Bakr and Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhum. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu also displayed great regard for the Ahlul Bayt. At the time of the Battle of Badr, the uncle of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidina Abbas radiallahu anhu, was taken as a captive. And the Ansar had taken him as a captive. He was not a Muslim at that time. And they kept him in their quarters. And they were saying things like, we're going to execute him. And the word of this reached Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the morning after that, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam woke up. He met Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu. And he said to Sayyidina Umar that I couldn't sleep whole night. So Sayyidina Umar asked the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what is it that troubled you? And he said that it was my concern for my uncle Abbas. The word has reached me that the Ansar want to execute him. So Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu said that, oh Nabi of Allah, if you give me permission, I'll go to speak to them about Abbas and get him freed. So Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu goes to the Ansar and say that, I'm requesting that you free Abbas, let him go. So they say, no, we won't do that. We'll never allow that to happen. He's our captive and we in charge. So then Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu says, what if I tell you that by you freeing him, it will gain for you the pleasure and the happiness of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The Ansar say, if that is the case, by all means, we free him immediately. So they let go of Sayyidina Abbas radiallahu anhum. And then Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu takes Sayyidina Abbas to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as he's taking him there, he says to him, oh Abbas, accept Islam. And I'm telling you this with such a fervor, your Islam will bring greater happiness to me than if my own father Khattab accepts Islam. When a person accepts the deen and he has family members who are out of the deen, his yearning in his heart is that they should also accept the deen. They should also gain salvation. Because that is the ticket to Jannah. But Sayyidina Umar says that, oh Abbas, accept Islam, because your Islam will give me greater happiness than if my own father Khattab accepts Islam. Simply because I know that if you accept Islam, it will bring that degree of happiness to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this was the love that Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu had. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu approached Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu. And he says, oh Ali, I'd like to marry your daughter Kulthum. So Sayyidina Ali says that, that I had in my mind that I wanted her to marry one of the sons of Ja'far radiallahu anhu. That was my intention. So that is what I had in mind. So I'm turning down your proposal. So Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu says that, oh Ali, get her married to me, because there's no one who will appreciate her nobility like I will appreciate it. And then he says to Sayyidina Ali, that the only reason I want to marry her is the fact that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that on the day of Qiyamah, all family relations will terminate. Illa hasabi wa nasabi. Except those who have family relations with me. And I'm hoping that I have my daughter married to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but I'm hoping to marry someone from his family, so I can also be part of the family of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu says that if that is the case, I get you married to her. And he marries her off to Sayyidina Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. Sayyidina Umar bin Khattab then goes back to the Muhajirin. And when he's coming there, he's beaming with happiness. And he tells him, congratulate me. So they say, but for what? He says, I've now become part of the family of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam by marrying his granddaughter. Kullu hasabin wa nasabin inqata. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu had given, people had seen him wearing a particular shawl all the time. Like an uncle who has the same jacket you see him wearing for 5 or 10 years. And you think, is that the only jacket? And he says, no, this is my favorite jacket. So Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu used to wear the same shawl all the time. So people said to him, oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, this shawl that you have, you wear the same one all the time. Perhaps we can purchase for you another one, we can arrange. Perhaps you even have other ones in your cupboard. Why is it that you wear this all the time? So he says, my good friend, my confidant, Umar bin Khattab gave me this jacket, this shawl, and that is why I love to wear it so much. So this was the mutual love between Sayyidina Ali and Sayyidina Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu anhu. And you see again that what is being portrayed by the Shias of a hatred between the two, that was far from reality. They had a loving relationship where they harmoniously interact with one another. If we move on to the Khilafah of Sayyidina Uthman radiyallahu anhu, then at that time, Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu anhu was the one who would execute the hudud. When anyone needed to be punished with a penal punishment for consuming alcohol or committing fornication, and the person was an unmarried person, the person needed to be lashed, Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu would carry it out. When Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu sent a expedition to Africa, there were members from the Ahlul Bayt who were part of that. When he sent an expedition to Transoxania in Khurasan, then in that expedition was Sayyidina Hassan, Sayyidina Hussein, Sayyidina Abdullah bin Ja'far, Sayyidina Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhum. All of them were part of those expeditions to Khurasan, Tabristan and Jurjana. So you can see from that the mutual accord and the mutual relationship. In fact, in the last moments of Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu, when the rebels had surrounded his home and it was now evident that they had the most heinous and evil intentions, Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu then came to Sayyidina Uthman, who was in his home, and he said to him that, O Amirul Mu'mineen, it seems as though these people will settle with nothing but, taking your life. They're going to come and attack you. And I want to leave my 2 sons here, Sayyidina Hassan and Hussein, to protect you. And if you give me permission, I will also even defend you against them. And Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu said that, O Ali radiallahu anhu, take your sons away. Because I do not want that the blood of a mu'min be spilled because of mine. Even if it means that in defending me, they have to be injured, I would not want that to be the case. So Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu takes his sons away. And he said that when he was taking them away, there was already an attack, and one of them got injured even in the process. And eventually, the rebels, the worst people of all, then make their way to the back of the home of Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhum, and they attack him and they strike him. And they strike him on the face, and as the result of that strike on the face, the blood of Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu falls off, and it falls down, and it falls on the mushaf, on the Quran that he's reading, and it falls on the verse, فَسَيَكْفِيكَهُمُ اللَّهُ. Allah will be sufficient for you against them. And his wife said, before they attacked him, you can kill this man if you want or don't, but remember that this is a man who would stand and recite the noble Quran in 1 rakat of salah. You would recite the entire noble Quran in 1 rakat of the salah. This is the man that you're attacking. So we see that in those last moments, Sayyidina Ali was there offering his help, which Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu had refused. He did not want to take the help at that time, and he was happy with the decree of Allah. What Allah had decreed for him, that was to come to be, and he had surrendered himself to that. So the point that we've been highlighting is the fact that we are the true custodians of the Ahlul Bayt, the family of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are those who claim to love the family of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they choose certain individuals. They choose one particular daughter and omit the other daughters. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had 4 daughters. They hold on to Sayyidah Fatima. There are those who claim to love the Ahlul Bayt, but they hate the mothers of the believers, Sayyidah Aisha and Sayyidah Hafsa. They name themselves Ahlul Bayt. They make a spectacle of how much they how close they are, yet they hate the Sahaba, those who were beloved to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we as the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, who are the true lovers of the family of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we understand the obligation in this regard, and we love them as they ought to be loved, as has been portrayed for us by the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had advised us, and he said that on the day of Qiyamah, if you want man sarra ay yuqtala bil mikyal al awfal, if you want your scales to be weighty on the day of Qiyamah, then read a specific durood. Say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Oh Allah, send salutations on Muhammad, wa azwajihi ummahatil mu'mineen, and on his wives, the mothers of the believers, wa dhurriyatihi, and his progeny, wa ahli bayti, and upon his Ahlul Bayt. Kama sallaita ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Like you send salutations upon the progeny of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. Oh Allah, you are the glorious, you are the majestic. If you recite this particular durood abundantly, you will find your scales to be heavy on the day of Qiyamah. May Allah Rabbul Izzah grant us the true understanding. May Allah grant us protection in our deen. Let us not be deceived by those who claim to love the Ahlul Bayt, yet they are really the haters of the Ahlul Bayt, in the sense that they do not love the Ahlul Bayt in the true sense. Also, in these days where there's certain spectacles that are portrayed, and it's now become more common via the various YouTube channels, and our youth are seeing that, let us understand the correct belief in this regard. May Allah Rabbul Izzah protect our Imam.